So I came out here to stay for the weekend by myself, and so far it's been absolute magic. Like intuition, synchronicity, just being able to enjoy everything, and holy cow, is there so much to enjoy. Like, I put out an intention yesterday to figure out how to forage for this kind of seagrass, to learn how to identify it, because you want to be pretty confident identifying something before you eat it. But I wasn't able to find any, or find anyone who could show me it, or find it in a book or online or anything, because I don't actually have internet access. And so I went out for a run, and I had this intuition to go somewhere that I wasn't planning on going. Ended up going down to a beach, and there's a woman collecting it. And so I went up to her and I asked her all about it, and asked her to show it to me, and she was really nice to me and taught me a lot of other things that are really helpful for me to know too, and I was just amazed. And that's kind of just been like everything else. So I thought a couple days ago this topic came up, and it really just intrigued me. Somebody was asking about like knowing the difference when you're making YouTube videos over whether something is actually cringe or whether you're being too hard on yourself. And he was saying that he was kind of like putting in a bunch of spiritual lingo, and that was making it cringe for the audience that he was trying to speak to. And so of course I looked up the etymology of the word cringe. Do you cringe every time I mention etymology? Because you probably should. And cringe means to bend back in fear, essentially. And I thought that this was incredibly interesting, because cringing is a projection. It's some kind of like boomerang-like gymnastics we're doing, where we actually project ourselves out there and suffer for the person that that we think is cringe, and at the same time judge them. So we're feeling these two feelings at once. We're not just feeling compassion for this person like we would if they were a kid on a stage and forgot their lines or something like that, but we're actually putting ourselves in that place and still feeling judgment. And so it's an amazing trick of the mind/emotions to hold in place a kind of fear of doing what we really want to do, of saying what we really want to say, and of saying what nobody else, what source, wants us to say. So if you think about light, it only goes out one direction. And so this is like when you feel an emotion, you're not aligned with the light, with the love that you are. It's bouncing back and coming back at you like a boomerang. And every judgment we make is some version of this. So last week's video, you saw me start to complain about how I felt like I was in a world full of children, that other people didn't understand this, and then snapped out of it and realized that I was doing exactly what I was criticizing other people for doing. And again, like, there's oh, another one of my judgment boomerangs just hit me in the face, and I can't explain this one, sorry. But this is a cringe video, so I'll just leave you hanging on that. So our judgments come back at us. And if you are open, if you're awareness, you're there and you catch them. and you realize what they are. You realize that they are the love that they really are. So when our love is aligned, when our true power is aligned, we can create, we can be artistic. And this is what artists do, and music is one of the best illustrations of this. I especially love 80s music because it's so full of passion and feeling and just makes you feel totally fired up. And at the same time, it's kind of cringe and kind of funny because it's so outdated. We're looking at it as a whole new lens of expectations and standards. Yet it's still art, it's still brilliant. All that feeling is there. You can tap into that, and you can tap into the hilarity of it. Both of these things are okay. And so if I sit here and say, you can't judge things, it's not quite right. You know by how you feel. So I was thinking about making this video, and I found a place that's kind of like this. It's a bunch of rocks stuck in sediment, and there's like a ledge or cliff of it, and it's amazing. And so I know the area and I appreciate it as a whole. And so I found this place that I thought was like the coolest, kind of where it like coved in, or it was almost like a cave. And I was like, this is a perfect place to film a video. And then I got looking at what was directly behind me, and I realized that the runoff from the like cliff, or the how vertical it was, had made all this like algae or seagrass or something had come together right there and made it look like the entire thing was covered with snot. And I realized that I couldn't communicate that way. I could not communicate the beauty of the place with this device. And so that's what creating is about. It's about being able to project yourself out, and like sort of as if the light's bent back, and look back in and try to refine and try to communicate better and really get across what you're saying so that people won't reject it, hopefully. But if our inner state isn't aligned with that, if it's turned back on itself, it's not from a place of intelligence, and it's not from a place of serving the creation that we're doing that. And we actually create the cringe ourselves when we focus on what other people are thinking, or focus on ruining it, and become unfocused as to creating what we want to create and saying what we really want to say. So there's a rainbow in the background, and I am reminded again that this day has been entirely too much. It's like an 80s rock song. It's like Lisa Frank artwork that I had when I was a kid. It's delightfully too much, and I am okay with being too much. I realize that the essence of what I am, and my personality reflects this sometimes, is just too much. Because light only goes one way. It doesn't actually bend back on itself. And when creation, what happens when it does is it creates a rainbow. It creates all the colors. It creates even more magic to create with. And we're all creating. What do you want to create? What are you not allowing yourself to create because you don't think you're good enough at it? You're not allowing yourself the experience of the creation, which is way more amazing than any final product that could ever come out, because there is no final. It's always too much. It's kind of strange how deep this subject actually goes, because it's not just that we don't want to create what we want to create because we're afraid of judgment and self-judgment, and we've practiced judging too much. It goes deeper than that. It's actually the sort of heart or the mistake of the materialist paradigm, where we take ourselves to be a body, or we take ourselves to be a finite thing. So taking ourselves to be a body spins off into the first separation of the body and the world, and then the world looking on us and judging us, and us not realizing the actuality of how we're actually doing that to ourselves in order to try to prevent it from coming outside us. And so the entire premise is wrong. So it's interesting that Mother Nature doesn't care if there's boogers, or the actual boogers, or, you know, I've seen trees with things that look like testicles before, and she doesn't care because she actually also designed actual testicles. So all kinds of repressions, all kinds of standards, and then just the entire, our trying to appraise our self-worth comes from that. So it struck me that appreciation has a double meaning. It means both to appreciate in value, to gain in value, like interest on money, and it also means to enjoy. So when we see through this separation, we're able to appreciate someone else's finished product for what it is, and no longer use it as a comparison that we're going to hold ourselves to. If you watch a ton of YouTube, you're seeing the final product of a lot of takes and a lot of hours of gaining knowledge and contemplation and experience. And then you're expecting yourself to get that on the first try. And this is a very different thing from beginner's luck. So I am a glass bead maker, and I started it when I was 15 years old. And I believe that that was really helpful because I was naive enough to truly appreciate when I first got the feel for a technique. I'll never forget making my first crescent moon in glass, and it's really amazing how the glass kind of rounds and allows you to do that, but you have to tilt it just right, and you have to flatten it at just the right time to get a crisp crescent moon. And I remember my first one wasn't very nice, but it looked like a moon. And I must have stared at it for like an hour. I'll never forget just how amazed I was. And that, like, appreciating yourself in that way, or appreciating whatever, it's not even yourself. You can appreciate somebody else's journey, somebody else's work. It's all there. It's all appreciation. And it's by feeling, you know, that that light is going out in one direction. So my daughter got this new unicorn float, and it's her first like float for the pool. And we don't have a pool, we use it in a lake, but she doesn't realize how easy it can pop. And so my son was trying to educate her about this, and he is like, nothing lasts forever. And when he said it, it struck me. And I was like, wow, we always take that statement to be negative, to be negating. Nothing lasts forever. But in reality, nothing lasts forever. And this is the magic of seeing through the materialist paradigm. But at first, it seems so crazy. It seems cringe. All of these words that we try to make up to point people towards thinking in a way they've never thought before, in a way of like bypassing thought and bypassing these beliefs. And they sound strange to people, or people take it as mumbo jumbo and they cringe, and then we feel bad and we keep it all to ourselves even when we're inspired to share it. Don't cut yourself off from that inspiration. Don't cut yourself off from that appreciation, because the world needs nothing more. In fact, it's even better than that. The world doesn't need it. It just feels amazing.